Good evening, race fans, and welcome to DRL TV. Tonight, we are proud to bring you live coverage right here from beautiful Virginia. This is race 4 of the Winona Road Truck Series playoffs. The first 3 races of the playoffs have brought us 3 different winners and lots of exciting green flag racing. As we get set to watch these drivers circle NASCAR's shortest racetrack, I don't expect that to change. Filling in for David Wellborn, I am Getty Buckner. Alongside me, as always, is Taylor Butcher Benjamin. And it will be our pleasure to bring you all of tonight's excitement here at Martinsville Speedway. Now, Taylor, as we are looking at these current playoff standings here, what is one of the things that stands out to you?
Well, one of the things that stands out to me is just how tight this field is. I mean, especially here on the short track, these times are pretty equal to each other. Plus, it's been super competitive all year, and down around that 4th and final cutoff spot for the Final Four in Homestead, that's going to be a real tight battle. As right now, Eric Weatherholtz, with that one win that came here at Martinsville in the spring, currently is 4th entering this race. Be interesting to see watching him. Looks like right now Robbie Armstrong up there with a good qualifying effort in 3rd. So kind of up in the air right now as to what we'll see out there.
No, absolutely. Now, one thing that we have seen this playoff season, since it has been just points drivers only, it has been a lot of parity, which you just kind of alluded to here. Spencer Tart getting the win last race at Talladega. Jeremy Meyer was able to win at Las Vegas. Matthew Kleinschmidt was able to win at Charlotte. We have yet to have a repeat winner. Do you think tonight we will get a 4th winner, or do you think we have a chance to get our first repeat winner here at Martinsville?
Well, to me, I mean, anything's possible with this group of drivers. As we see Jeremy Hebel, who's been leading the standings most of the year, qualified 3rd. Although if there's going to be a repeat winner tonight, I think Spencer Tart's got a good shot at it. As you see, he's 0.2 faster than anybody else in qualifying so far. As you mentioned, won our last race at Talladega and led the most laps in this in the spring race here. Led over 100 laps, but finished 5th. So I think he's got a good shot at it.
Yeah, and now one of the things that we kind of must make a note of is this race was scheduled for last week, but iRacing threatened to put out a huge update on the day that we normally race, which is Wednesday. So these drivers haven't raced in a few weeks. So, what do you think coming into our first couple laps here at Martinsville? I mean, these guys are going to be excited to finally get back out on the track. Do you think there's going to be any issues with people kind of getting back into a rhythm or anything like that here?
Well, I mean, these guys, they've been running with each other since February at the very latest. But that's a good question because you never know how much rust someone might have after a long break like that. But I expect a good, solid race amongst all these guys. We've got 14 drivers in here. Of course, we'll see the typical Martinsville short track beating and banging, but expect a good show tonight.
No, I do as well. And it looks like these drivers are just about done with qualifying. Spencer Tart putting down a very, very impressive lap here with a 19-1. One thing that we'll make a note of before we bring him in is the weather tonight as we bring up the flyer for this race. The weather tonight, it's 69 degrees with some overcast, which is going to promote a lot of grip, Taylor, a lot of grip, which is actually going to make it harder to pass because a lot of people are going to be able to stick it down to the bottom. So, I mean, it's going to be very, very exciting indeed. But yeah, it looks like Spencer Tart was able to get that pole time here. Again, with a very, very impressive time, as we will look at the qualifying standings here with Spencer and Matt Kleinschmidt on the front row. If you could, let's bring in Spencer Tart and have a little conversation with him before we start this race.
All right, I got him right here. Spencer Tart, it's Taylor and Getty in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, sir?
Spencer Tart, do you have a copy, sir?
Yes, I do.
All right, Spencer, you put down a very, very impressive lap here. With the cooler conditions, the fact it's 175 laps, are you anticipating the racing to be pretty tight out there, or what kind of things are you kind of thinking you'll see tonight?
Well, there's definitely a big split between the times on a lot of these guys. I think it should spread out pretty well, but there's also a good chance that it could get pretty tight. I mean, it is Martinsville. Lap traffic could play a big role, so the temperature changing and tire or rubber getting put down could change the race completely. So we'll just have to adapt and see what happens throughout the race.
Now, one thing that me and Taylor made a note of is that we have had no repeat drivers here in these playoffs. What do you think your chances are of becoming our first repeat driver in the playoffs?
Well, obviously, I don't want to count any chickens before they. We definitely have a really fast truck today, and definitely have a great shot at finishing well today. And as long as we keep the nose clean and run the way we know we should, I think we could end up being the first one.
All right, Spencer. Well, I do appreciate your time, man. Why don't you get ready for this race here? 175 laps, Spence. Hopefully we talk to you there at the end.
Yep.
As these drivers do get set to pull off here, one thing to make a note of is that, again, with the weather here, it's going to be incredibly tight. But Spencer, with that very impressive lap, one second here. With that very impressive lap time, I can't imagine he's going to be anything but fast coming out of the gates here.
Yeah, it usually is. I mean, regardless of what kind of track, like such as Talladega last week or a mile and a half, but particularly on these short tracks. Of course, we've been covering this year that he was a part of the NASCAR Ignite series for the young up-and-coming stars. Of course, all they race on were short tracks, so he certainly got a lot of experience this season in running most of them, as we're about a half a lap away from getting the green flag.
Yeah, no, absolutely. These guys are going to get a good start with the pace car pulling in pretty early here, but it'll pull off right now, and they take the green flag coming around this corner. But it should be an absolutely phenomenal race. And let's get it started. Taylor, lap 1 of 175, and they are green.
A great launch by Spencer Tardy as Matt Kleinschmidt cleared, going into turn number 1. A lot of these guys will be fighting for that inside curb.
Yeah,
Robbie Armstrong hits the wall off turn 2. We've got Jeffrey Meyer underneath him, and Spencer Tart collects a bonus point for lead.
Yeah, one thing to make a note of is Robbie Armstrong does got a little bit of right side damage as we're seeing him try to cross over Jeffrey Meyer here, but damage here is not as big of a deal as it was last time we went out at Talladega, so I don't expect that.
He had to wiggle off turn 4. Kleinschmidt had to check up from getting into the back of him. The top 4 are right on top of each other here.
And we are watching that battle for first and second here. Spencer Tart kind of pulling out to a little bit of a gap there on exit, but it looks like Kleinschmidt's diving it in really deep here on entry. We've got him, Kleinschmidt, Jeremy Hebel, and Eric Weatherholtz, your top 4. Jeffrey Meyer, as we're looking at now with Robbie Armstrong following, is in 5th.
Look at Spencer use up all the racetrack off the corner. That's going to be the real key tonight, is getting that roll through the center so you can get that drive off the corner in order to accelerate away from your fellow competitor.
Now we are looking back from Jeffrey Meyer back to Robbie Armstrong here, as that battle is pretty tight here. Now one of the problems is at Martinsville, if you don't have a great qualifying lap but you do have a good race speed, it does take a while to maneuver through this traffic here. So we saw Jeffrey Meyer already moved up 2 spots because of the advantage that he had starting on the inside lane, but we will see some of these other guys, such as maybe Daniel Holloway, who maybe didn't qualify as fast as he wanted to. We know that he's always fast when we come here at any racetrack. And it looks like Jeffrey Meyer's caught up to Eric Weatherholtz pretty quick here. Weatherholtz kind of fell off that top 3.
I'll tell you someone else, as we see Meyer kind of poking the nose there on Weatherholtz. Someone else I'll be kind of keeping an eye on is Andrew Marsh in the 91 truck. He's not in this for points. He was very quick in qualifying, practice, but didn't get the best qualifying effort. I believe he was second quickest in practice, but only started in 9th position. So look for him to try to muscle his way up. Of course, he doesn't care about this championship battle. All he cares about is getting that virtual grandfather clock.
Right, and another thing to make a note of is we're riding on board with Dakota Wilkins, who's always quick when we come to any track, is he has been eliminated, I believe, from contention. So as far as he was below that cutoff as we left Talladega and started the new point standings into this next little sprint of races that we're doing. So he's only here to win and show off what he can do. And I'm sure he will be motivated more than, as much as anyone to get a win here tonight.
Spencer Tarta, he's pulled out to a second lead, but he's driving exceptionally hard off of turn 2 as he actually just scraped the wall a little bit.
Yeah, looking here at Spencer Tarta, he has led all 10 of these laps so far, has got about a second of a lead here, 0.93, as he's pulling off on exit very, very well. You can kind of see him diming those corners just a little bit on exit, and that's helping him through, carry that speed down the straightaway, which is very, very important. And that's also one way to avoid getting passed, because passing here on entry is not going to be an option unless the driver in front of you slips up, Taylor. So if you want to be fast here, you have to make sure that you have put a lot of focus on your exit speed, which Spencer is doing a phenomenal job. Just as I've been speaking, he's already gained 0.2 of a second over Matt Kleinschmidt.
And if he so chooses, because as you mentioned, he's out to a 1.2-second lead now. That's quite a lot on a short track, and if he so chooses later on in this run, he could try to save his equipment and save the tires with that gap in between he and Kleinschmidt. Looking on board here at Spencer, looking at his driver profile here, watch him enter these corners here. This is Spencer Tart. He's not really fighting the wheel all that much. It kind of, as soon as he got that lead, I mean, it's possible that he's kind of just taking it easy, but I also kind of, if my ears don't deceive me, he's downshifting. So yes, I was noticing that in practice that some guys were downshifting, some guys were not. But yeah, as we see,
hey, Hebel,
he overshot the corner, although he doesn't have Eric Weatherholtz is quite a ways back, so it doesn't cost him a spot. It just costs him some time there. But getting back to that downshifting, it's really key that you don't spin the tires off the corner while you're doing so, because if you get into the gas too quickly while you're downshifting, that could cause you to go around.
I ride on board here with Eric Weatherholtz. One thing you want to mention when you are gathering up a car like that, as Jeremy Hebel, you saw him kind of overshoot it, is the heat buildup here. You really have to take it easy for a lap or two, so one little slip up can cost you several seconds of on-track time, because you have to gather your car, get back in a rhythm, and then also get your equipment cooled back down in a way where you can kind of push it without accelerating your tire wear here, which will be a little bit of a factor here. The lap times don't drop off too much in these trucks, but one thing, as I'm noticing now, is Spencer Tarr is running into some lap traffic here.
And here he comes on William Wingfield, and he is able to make the pass with no problem, and he's going to come up on Cody Katsky as well. But getting back to that, what I've learned, like in real life, as former Martinsville winner Ricky Craven used to say, every time you kind of spin the tires a little bit and kind of mess up your line, that kind of costs them like 3 laps less as far as the kind of tire wear you'll get. So it's very important to not over abuse your stuff too early. And Kleinschmidt.
Kleinschmidt.
He gathers it back up somehow, but he's going to lose a couple spots.
And we're going to watch a little replay of that.
I'm not sure if he just wheel hopped in there, almost regardless of what happened. He almost got in the back of William Wingfield and took them both out.
Yeah, that was not a great camera view. Let's watch that one more time here. On board with Mr. Kleinschmidt. And it looks like he just gains on the 83 of William Wingfield so much that he had to put a little bit more extra brake into it, and with the amount of rear brake these guys are probably using, any extra brake that you use that you wouldn't anticipate using normally could cost you almost spinning out. So lap traffic already proving to be somewhat difficult here to navigate.
Yeah, you really can't just jump on the brakes like that. You really have to apply them down into the corner, particularly when you're still going straight. But at least Kleinschmidt was able to keep it pointed in the right direction.
And after 24 laps here, Spencer Tart holding a 3.3 second lead over Jeremy Hebel, who is now the new second place driver after Kleinschmidt slid almost off the track there. But looking back here at Robbie Armstrong, seeing how that damage has affected him so far, he is still maintaining that 6th position right behind Jeffrey Meyer, with Andrew Marsh closely following behind. Andrew Marsh, one of the, I guess, one of the drivers that you kind of put on notice here because of his quick practice times here. But so far, he's either being very, very patient, being very careful, mindful of these playoff drivers, or he just hasn't found that speed yet.
Well, plus the fact of just how hard it is to pass here.
Looking here. Yeah, Robbie Armstrong did start 4th. He is currently 6th. So, again, this is a good showing for Robbie. And, of course, let's bring up these point standings one more time. Robbie Armstrong, he is part of that 3-way battle for that right below the cutoff. So, right now he is leading Holloway and Sidarius Jackson. All 4 of those drivers are tied, which is just incredible when you think of how long this season is, and the fact that we're 3 or 4 races away from the end of the season, and there's three drivers all tied, looking outside of the that little cutoff there.
Well, don't look now, but Spencer Tart, his lead has been cut down a little bit. It was about 3.5 seconds a couple of laps ago. Now it's down to about 2 3/4.
Now, one thing I'm going to do here right now, Taylor, is I'm going to ride on board with Jeremy Hebel and see if he has decided to downshift. Right there in turns 1 and 2, he is actually staying in 4th gear. Let's see what happens in 3 and 4 here.
Yeah, it looks like he's not downshifting.
He is not downshifting. Now, one thing that could help actually Jeremy Hebel in the long run is tire wear, because when Spencer downshifts, with any driver, when any driver downshifts and then accelerates in 3rd gear coming off, that could generate a little bit of extra wheel spin, which could cause a little bit more heat, a little bit more tire wear. So if this race trends in the same direction that most of these playoff races have gone, which is these long green flag runs, one of the things that you could see is Jeremy Hebel kind of maybe get a little bit of advantage the longer we go, with staying. Ooh, Weatherholt's behind him, sliding.
Yeah, that was a moment there. Both of them they're driving hard, and they're slowly but surely catching Spencer Tart. But like we said, with that 3-second lead that Spencer has accumulated here, he can afford to take it easy if he wants to.
Yeah, and we were just watching the replay of Eric Weatherholt's kind of having that little dicey moment there. And we have a caution out. Caution is out. And it looks like Dakota Wilkins.
Yep, down in turns 3 and 4.
Looking at Dakota Wilkins here. We will hit that replay up here real quick.
Oh, it looks like he just maybe had too much rear brake bias going in there, and
yeah, he's fighting there with Sidarius and Holloway. But yeah, you're right. Let's see as he turns into this corner here. Has to check up a little bit. It looks like he's trying to find a way past Sidarius Jackson. He keeps having to check up a bit. And Sidarius actually gives him the inside line there, and Dakota Wilkins just not able to take advantage there, Taylor.
Yeah, I was going to point that out, that it looked like Jackson actually moved up to give him that spot. But everybody's on pit road.
All right, as we were looking here, the race on pit road, Spencer Tart leads him down as he gets into his box. Looks like all drivers there able to have a fairly decent stop there, and we got our eyes here on the exit of pit road. Now, one thing we could talk about later on, it looks like Daniel Holloway is going to do it right now, is 2-tire stops here.
And that'll move him up from 9th to about 4th or 5th, it looks like. Spencer is the first driver out, using that first pit stall to his advantage.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, that's one thing. You know, 2 tires here after 36 laps. Not a bad decision. Not a bad decision. We'll see, we'll see if he has the speed to keep up with these guys. But right now, Taylor, we're going to take a quick commercial break as these drivers get set to get that green flag back. And when we return, we will give you green flag racing and maybe a little rev it up. I don't know. What do you think, Taylor?
I like the sound of that. Why not?
All right, this is DRL TV. We will be right back.
Assists to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing!
Lee to the inside goes Logan Clapman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Nice trying, there's contact though. Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe. Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
And we are about to go green flag racing here. We are going to rev it up and watch these drivers do their craft. Gotta love the sound of those engines. We're back. We are on... no, never, ever, ever. We are looking on board here with Spencer Tart. Looking back to this this pack here with Holloway and Eric Weatherholtz duking it out here.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching Daniel Holloway with those 2 tires. He's hanging in there pretty well so far.
We're riding on board with him right now.
And he knows he's got to make something happen. As we showed that graphic, he was in that 3-way tie, 14 points behind the final cutoff spot. So he needs to kind of pull that rabbit out of the hat if he's going to make the final 4 here. Got a heck of a battle going on behind him though with Meyer and Armstrong, BJ O'Leary.
No,
Matt Kleinschmidt is back there as well.
No, absolutely. Unfortunately, we have to take a quick commercial break as we are looking here at Spencer. I apologize, guys. Just have to do a quick reset here on the old graphic channel here, and I will be right back here with DRL TV. We'll bring you the rest of this race.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks. Fully dynamic, real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
All right, and welcome back to DRL TV. I apologize for that. Sometimes technology does get the best of me. And we are looking here at Spencer Tart as he leads this field, but we're going to move back here immediately to this great battle here between 5th and everyone else. Oh, Cy Jackson.
There goes PJ O'Leary around into the inside wall for turn 2. No caution yet.
Cy Jackson was also getting loose there as we will look at PJ O'Leary's spin. Riding him as he's riding right behind Robbie Armstrong.
Yeah, just poked him in the left rear.
Ooh, yep, and he just loses it there. Obviously, that's going to happen when you make contact with another car. We will right on board looking back at Matthew Kleinschmidt again, who he had that see, PJ kind of opened up that door a little bit, and Matthew Kleinschmidt did try to take advantage. We'll look at that one more time here. PJ O'Leary dives down, turns 1 and 2, kind of slides up a little bit. Kleinschmidt gets a little bit of an opening there, and PJ O'Leary gets tagged, and that costs Kleinschmidt a lot of time. And also PJ O'Leary, obviously.
Yeah, PJ O'Leary lost a lap as we did not have a caution, but Kleinschmidt, he dropped back to 9th position, and he is about a half a lap down to the race leader, Spencer Tart, who was out to a 2.5 lead over Jeremy Hebel.
And also, one thing we didn't cover in as much detail, Sidarius Jackson also had a little bit of wheel. He was sliding a little bit on exit there, but it could have been to check up for that incident with PJ O'Leary. But that cost a lot of drivers did a great job checking up, but almost to a fault there as he, Martin Wenzel, Cy Jackson, PJ O'Leary all lost a significant time to our leader Spencer Tart, who he is out to a 1.5 second gap over Jeremy Hebel. Eric Weatherholt's another 2 seconds behind Jeremy Hebel there. Daniel Halloway kind of holding strong there in 4th after that 2-tire change.
Yeah, that appears to be working out pretty well as that incident kind of really strung this field out for the most part. The best battle really is going on about 8th, 7th position between Andrew Marsh and Dakota Wilkins.
Yeah, look here at Andrew Marsh.
I saw him cross the wall a couple laps ago. I don't see too much damage there.
And you can see the difference in what Dakota is doing and Andrew Marsh. Dakota trying to get that run on exit, and Andrew Marsh trying to go the short way around on bottom. And you can see that half a groove up that Dakota Wilkins is. He gets that incredible run off, and it's hard to, if you can get a good exit. It's just going to be so hard to pass here, even if Andrew Marsh on average is a little bit faster than Dakota. You can't get past him if you can't get him on exit, unless of course you use the old chrome horn on entry, which is of course not the preferred method of passing here in the Dynasty Racing League.
Yeah, he's really rotating the center a lot better than Dakota, but like you said, he's getting that run off. Boy, he's tried to send it in there that time though.
Dakota gets a little bit...
hit the curb a little bit.
Yeah, hit the curb a little bit, plus he had PJ O'Leary to deal with on exit, so he wasn't really able to gather it all the way, but Andrew Marsh just didn't have enough space to take advantage. If that happens at any other track besides Martinsville, Andrew Marsh gets that pass past Dakota, but here, not so much. As I mentioned right as we started this broadcast, this is NASCAR's shortest circuit, and reaching max speeds of 90 miles an hour as they're entering these corners, there's just not a lot of room, which is one of the reasons why it is such a fan favorite here, Taylor.
Yeah, it's personally one of my fan favorites. So as we go back to Jeffrey Meyer and Robbie Armstrong for 5th and 6th.
And Jeffrey Meyer is one of those race winners. He did win our first playoff race that went caution-free at Las Vegas. Putting on a great performance as he needs to, because point standings wise, as we pull this up, Jeffrey Meyer is last of the eight drivers due to a point infraction. So Jeffrey Meyer just running for his life here, as here Texas and ISM, when we head to Phoenix, will be he will be on a mission.
Yeah, like you mentioned, that point penalty he had, he basically would have used, if he didn't have that penalty, he would have used that one win, and he'd be basically tied with Eric Weatherholtz for that 4th position. But because of that penalty, it's a real big blow.
Now watching Spencer Tart having a little bit of issue here, navigating William Wingfield. Wingfield does let him go by here.
Jeremy Hebel has closed it up on him in a hurry.
Spencer had to slam on those brakes. Not only...
Oh,
we have caution.
Got another car.
Side Jackson. Side Jackson.
The leaders too. He's going to stay on the lead lap, but no damage, it appears.
He has a little bit of right front, but that could have been there before, or right side damage rather. We will take an instant replay of that here. Watching, he's fighting Matthew Kleinschmidt.
Actually, it looked like he was all by himself. Looked like he clipped the curb.
Hit the curb. Oh, and spiked that outside wall.
Yeah, he overcorrected.
Let's go on board with Sidarius Jackson as we watch that one more time.
Actually, it looked like a lot harder hit than I first thought.
Yeah, looking at the damage, it didn't appear like he got that much damage. Maybe he got some internal damage there. I'm not sure, but you could hear the impact that he had with the curb there. So as we are again going to watch this race off of pit road. Now, who decides to take 2 here? As Holloway, we saw he was able to take advantage of it and gain tons of spots. Spencer Tart will be the first off. Hebel, Weatherholtz, Holloway, Meyer, and Armstrong. I don't think anyone took the gamble this time.
That's a little surprising, though, because, I mean, Holloway showed that if you have a good enough truck and good enough line around the track, I mean, he was able to make it work.
Now, looking at Spencer Tart, again, the leader, unless something happened under caution that I don't know about, he has led every single lap so far. But this gives drivers like P.J. O'Leary, Andrew Marsh, an opportunity to catch back up, as we have just had our second caution of the race, lap 70 of 175. And we will be right back, ladies and gentlemen, on DRL TV.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing!
Racely to the inside goes Logan Clapman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
Trying this contact though. Wide left of the racetrack. Chris Venner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
And we are back live. Sorry to cut the commercial short, but we are back racing here at Martinsville. Spencer Tart does lead the field. Jeremy Hebel, Eric Weatherholtz, Daniel Holloway, and Robbie Armstrong are your top 5 here. Green flag out.
Oh, Hebel locks it up going into turn 1. He's going to drop back big time. Actually to about 5th, but Eric Weatherholtz and Daniel Holloway take advantage.
We were watching him
stuck up on that outside.
Yeah, fighting to that one little slip up. As we were talking about these little slip ups here on such a short track, those are going to be disastrous. As we're watching him on board, trying to fight back Robbie Armstrong and Matthew Kleinschmidt.
Oh, it looks like Hebel. Did he get the wall that time?
I heard a little bit of a scrape. I'm not sure if that did any damage here, but look, when with the 2 wide battle here, it just stacks up the whole field. Oh,
he is having a hard time. Well, yeah. At least, if anything, he was able to get back down to the bottom there.
Right, and that's actually going to cost Dakota Wilkins a position here as he tried to take advantage on the outside. It looks like we do have Cy Jackson.
Well, those two are teammates, so of course Dakota Wilkins not involved in the championship battle anymore, so he might have given his teammate a break there.
Now we'll move on here to the Kleinschmidt-Robbie Armstrong battle as Spencer Tart already is out to a 1.5 second lead over Eric Weatherholtz, who inherits second. Actually, Daniel Halloway inherits third because of the Jeremy Hebel spin. Or not spin, but slide, rather.
The fastest chicken in the South moving into the top 5. In the top 4, rather. And Spencer again out to a terrific start, already nearly 2 seconds.
We are on board with Matthew Kleinschmidt looking back to Robbie Armstrong. Jeremy Hebel trying to, he's going to have to do a little bit of work here to try to get those positions back that he lost. Jeremy Hebel was at one point in second place in this race, so we know he has the speed.
Yeah, he was chasing down Spencer as he was getting in that lap traffic before that caution came out, so just that much loss of track position and get back there, and even if you have a fast truck, it's tough to pass and tough to show it.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's got to fight he's got to fight through Robbie Armstrong, who's been in the top 5 just about the whole race. This has been a terrific showing from Robbie Armstrong. Matthew Kleinschmidt, who is trying to rebound back to the front from his own mess up earlier in the race, and Halloway, who finally does have the same 4 fresh tires as a leader, trying to maintain all those positions that he gained on pit road under that first caution here. And it looks like Cy Jackson, he might have actually maybe got some significant damage from that wreck, more so than we thought, as he's on pit road for the second time, Taylor.
Yep, and he is now 3 laps down and counting. That's too bad for Sidarius.
And what Sidarius doesn't want to see is people like Daniel Holloway running third, because, again, he is part of that 3-way tie there. Robbie Armstrong, whoa!
Whoa. Hang on, Robbie. Gets it back. That was disastrous.
Watch a replay here of Robbie Armstrong, and he just, again, it could be rear brake, it could be anything at that point, but he just gives that position to Hebel.
That Dakota Wilkins did on that first caution, just went into turn 3 and locked the rear brakes up. Did a tremendous drift, though.
No, great job hanging on to it. And one thing, looking here at Jeffrey Meyer, who was kind of just around the top 5 also, he's back in 9th. So I'm curious if he had some sort of issue happen maybe on pit road, because that is not an easy pit road to get onto. You could very much miss your box. So a lot of developments here after the second caution. One development, of course, that's not that big of a surprise as we go back up to the front is Mr. Spencer Tart, who has led, again, if not all these laps, all but 1 or 2, 85 of 175 here, leading Eric Weatherholtz, his teammate, by 3 seconds.
Yeah, he is putting a whooping on this field right now. He just looks so smooth. Still running in the 19.8 second bracket. Much quicker than anybody else, and continues to extend that gap. And you just see him off turn 4. He's still driving hard.
No, absolutely. That man wants to win a championship here, and if he wins tonight, he's guaranteed an opportunity, no matter what happens in the next 2 races, to race it out at Homestead. Now looking at this battle for 3rd and 4th, and also 5th, with Jeremy Hebel kind of catching back up, this has been tight. Matthew Kleinschmidt looking for a way past Daniel Holloway.
I was really surprised that somebody like Jeffrey Meyer or Martin Wenzel or someone that's kind of further back in the field didn't employ the strategy that Holloway.
Oh, Hebel!
There he goes again.
Don't get down in the marsh. Oh, he plugged Andrew Marsh, and that will be.
Meyer plows into the side of him now as we have the caution.
Wow, we saw that happen.
Get back going before they lose a lap, but wow, what a moment.
We're going to ride looking at Jeremy Hebel here. Enters turn 3 and 4.
It's the same thing as Robbie Armstrong did.
Oh, this will be 1 lap. I went back a little bit far, but we're watching him battle it out with Kleinschmidt here. 1 and 2 turns out to be just fine looking. We were watching the battle between the two cars in front of them when this happened. And entering, it looks like Kleinschmidt slows up, and Hebel has to get on the brakes unexpectedly, hits Marsh, and Meyer also having to hit the brakes slides into him. So one thing that we're seeing tonight being a huge issue is correcting. And we're going to ride on board one more time here with Jeremy Hebel as they're entering 3 and 4 here. And it just seems like as soon as someone has to apply more brake than they're used to, that truck is spinning right around. And you can see it. He dove in way deeper. Andrew Marsh got a little bit of damage. Not sure about Jeffrey Meyer. We'll roll right on board with him right now.
Well, Robbie Armstrong has stayed out the lead a lap as he's done several times this season, although he was running up in the top 5 or 6 before that, so he might be planning on fixing that damage that he's had since lap 1. But
well,
interesting.
Watching that replay there, Jeffrey Meyer, I mean, he was on the brake through that whole corner and still slid through and hit Jeremy Hebel. So that could be something to watch out for as this race continues to unfold, Taylor. It's just it seems like trying to avoid these wrecks is just, or not wrecks, but in Jeremy Hebel's case, just trying to avoid a slower vehicle. I mean, that we've seen these trucks whip around unexpectedly. I think that's been the cause of almost every one of these cautions besides Cy Jackson, where he just kind of hit the curb there.
Well, Daniel Holloway, looking at his pit stop, I believe he took 2 tires once again, and that's going to give him the lead.
Looks like he and Kleinschmidt both did, actually, with pit stops between 8.8 and 9.7 respectively. So Spencer Tart, for the first time, will have to battle through through traffic.
And now we'll see. This is a test of character for Spencer Tart. He's had the best truck all night, been dominating this event, but now he's not the control truck anymore for this restart. I mean,
no, he does have the inside, which is good. But
just can't get too over anxious and try to get it all back at once.
Yeah, we still have several laps to go. Cody Gasky does get the wave around. He will be back on the lead lap. But here is where it starts getting a little dicey, kind of near this end of the race here, or middle part of the race rather. And Holloway will lead this slew of trucks here to the green flag.
It's a good start. Oh,
Kleinschmidt! Oh, right into Weatherholtz.
Into Weatherholtz, and they're all piling up on the front straightaway. Wow. Weatherholtz is done. That truck is smoking profusely out the back. Kleinschmidt still trying to get turned around the right direction. And he might have gone a lap down right there, although he's got bigger problems. He's smoking heavily as well, but wow.
Let's ride on board with Matthew Kleinschmidt. And again, he took those 2 tires. And Martin Wenzel goes through him. And of course there was a checkup behind him, Cy Jackson, PJ O'Leary. My goodness, we have a lot of things to cover here in just a second as we will again look at. We're going to ride on board with Eric Weatherholtz.
There's dog tracking.
We're going to ride on board with Eric Weatherholtz here.
Nowhere to go there.
This is what Eric Weatherholtz saw here, the car right behind Matthew Kleinschmidt. It looks like Eric Weatherholtz even had a little bit of wheel spin, but oh my goodness, talk about nowhere to go. And you can hear the engine blow on Weatherholtz. That will cost him at least 30 minutes of repairs.
Yeah, and again, that's 2 of our top 4 drivers that are entered this race in the final 4 above the cut line, so that could have huge ramifications here. Especially these drivers are going to be sitting on pit road for quite some time, if not the rest of the race.
It looks like, I'm looking at Martin Wenzel, and it looks like he might have actually gotten some luck here for the first time in the universe of Martin Wenzel. He was able to kind of code through and
It's a little right front damage, but like you mentioned, I mean, literally all season we've been talking about how our man Martin has just been caught up in wreck after wreck, none of his own doing, but perhaps finally catching a break at the right time.
Now we will we're going to look at this one last time here. Matthew Kleinschmidt looking back to Eric Weatherholtz. And when he slides inside, he does make contact with Spencer. I don't think giving him any damage, but wow, what a change! What a change of events.
And Spencer's truck looks relatively clean. I know he got into the outside wall a little bit earlier, but nothing major. So he looked like he escaped that relatively okay. As we're going to try this again.
We're going to try this again. Daniel Holloway leading Spencer Tart, Martin Wenzel, Dakota Wilkins, and just can't say enough about Martin Wenzel, who able to kind of avoid some damage there.
Well, Holloway kind of waited a little longer to accelerate there, and he's able to clear Tart, but here comes Tart, able to make the pass going into turn 3.
Now he's able to make it stick. Now can Holloway get down before Dakota Wilkins can take advantage? And yes, he can. Now we have a battle for second. We also have a battle behind these guys between Robbie Armstrong and Sidarius Jackson, who is several laps down.
Yeah, he is 14 laps down right now after his crash earlier.
Let's go back up front here. Now, looking at these point standings, let's just remind ourselves of how huge that was, especially for Daniel Holloway, Robbie Armstrong, Sidarius Jackson, Jeffrey Meyer, all those drivers on the outside looking in, and Eric Weatherholtz, who was 4th on the cut line. His race is just about over. He might be able to get back out for a little bit, but
as well as Kleinschmidt, who's 3rd.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. But Holloway looking right now in the best spot of any of these drivers, of course, besides our leader, Spencer Tart. And, wow.
Wenzel, he had a tight moment off turn 4. Looks like his truck keeps pushing off these corners.
And we're on board with Holloway. And yeah, Martin Wenzel, wow, he's having a little bit of issues just kind of getting that under control there after scraping that wall. Let's go on board with Martin Wenzel here. Diving down into turn 1 and 2 here, right behind Dakota Wilkins. Again, Martin Wenzel running 4th as the 4th car.
And he knows very well that he needs to take advantage of this opportunity that's been given to him.
Oh, absolutely. And that is a big old cluster for... you know, the second car, basically all back through Robbie Armstrong in the 6th car. Jeremy Hebel, who might have a little bit of suspension damage or something, he's kind of back there a ways, stuck in traffic a bit. We'll look back at him. That is our points leader right now. After tonight...
Go ahead, Getty.
I was going to say, after tonight, that might change because Spencer, I mean, that's a big point swing. Spencer could be our first repeat winner and the first person to have a lead in the point standings other than Jeremy Hebel almost this whole season.
And looking at Hebel's left front, it's still crumpled a little bit, but as Jeffrey Meyer is right behind him, looks like his front end still has some damage as well.
Yeah, and it's possible that he could have got a little bit of mechanical damage inside because he did absolutely hit Jeremy Hebel flush. He T-boned him. So, I mean, he could be running a little bit on limited power, but the fact that he's still running and Kleinschmidt and Eric Weatherholtz aren't, that's good for Jeffrey Meyer. Good for Jeffrey Meyer indeed, as he's able to get those positions, and he's still able to maintain a lead lap spot here in case there are other casualties here at Martinsville.
Well, Martin Wenzel has dropped back from 4th to 6th, but he has about 4 seconds back to the next truck of, well, the lap truck of Jackson, but 4 seconds back to Hebel, so he can ride a little bit and kind of sort out the handling of his truck.
Right. No, absolutely. It seemed like he kind of got that outside wall, maybe got spooked a little bit, and you know, it takes some of these drivers a little bit to get back into that rhythm. I know myself as a driver, I'm the same way. So, but looking back here, Daniel Holloway, who he was also fast in practice, if I recall correctly, Taylor, in that last stint, after about 17 laps, Spencer Tart had almost a 3-second lead or something like that, and here right now he's got a 1.2-second lead, which of course is still massive, but Holloway is kind of able to keep him within at least the sight of his windshield, something that nobody has been able to do yet so far. And Dakota Wilkins, of course, just a little bit behind him. Andrew Marsh now back in the top 5, or maybe in the top 5 for the first time tonight. And Robbie Armstrong, again, who's been in 5th this whole race, it seems like, looking to finish strong here, as we do still have a significant amount of laps left. But that last caution really did change this race and flip it upside down here.
Well, Tart is beginning to pull away a little bit each lap, a couple tenths. But again, Daniel Holloway, just on those 2 right side tires, I mean, he's making this strategy. He's working this out to perfection at this point.
Riding on board with Spencer Tart. Looking back, we're going to look back to Daniel Holloway there, and a little bit of wheel spin there from Spencer.
Yeah, he's not one to take it easy. As we see, he's actually shifting. At least I thought he was.
Now I'm gonna stay focused here on this this battle for around 5th spot here to see if either if Andrew Marsh can pull away and catch Dakota, or if Robbie Armstrong can catch Andrew Marsh here. Again, Robbie Armstrong, he's another one that we don't talk about a whole ton. As far as I know Martin, the running joke for Martin Wenzel is his bad luck, but Robbie Armstrong, he's not exactly had the greatest luck of a driver either, as he tends to really try to take it easy at the beginning of these races. That way he's there at the end. But in the beginning of these races, he's often caught up in something that is really not his own doing. So Robbie Armstrong really looking to take advantage of this opportunity, as he's been a top 5 truck all night long here.
I remember how great of a run Robbie was having in the spring race here. He ran top 5 most of the event until he got involved in a late race wreck.
Now these drivers are starting to stack up a little bit. I think something's going on with Daniel Holloway, as he is slowed way up here. That last lap was nearly 2 tenths off the pace.
I think now he's feeling the effects of the older left side tires.
Yeah, because he
up a little bit.
Yeah, besides Kleinschmidt, who of course had his own set of issues with those 2 tires. Daniel Holloway is the only driver that has those 2 right sides versus 4 fresh ones. So I think, yeah, the 30 laps here, it's not going to be the tire wear so much as just the heat buildup from running aggressively. Obviously, if you're in 2nd spot, you're running as hard as you possibly can, and the heat buildup in those older tires will.
We got a caution. Side Arias Jackson again.
Jeremy Hebel.
Jeremy Hebel as well. And again, Jeremy Hebel just barely gets it fired in time to stay on the lead lap.
We're going to go on board with both of these drivers.
Side Arias Jackson, boy, he had a major issue entering turn 3, and Hebel was on the outside of him and was a victim.
Yeah, it looks like Cy Jackson had a little bit of rear lockup there, maybe trying to be extra cautious and brake a little early for that Matthew Kleinschmidt, who was entering pit road at the time. Let's ride on board with Cy Darius Jackson and see kind of what it sounded like from his cockpit. Again, we are on board with Cy Jackson here. Jeremy Hebel to his outside, and you can see Kleinschmidt there entering pit road. It looks like he was downshifting, and he kind of just lost the rear tire, had some wheel hop there, and Jeremy Hebel just kind of wrong place, wrong time, which has been the story of his season in the second half after having a huge, just a phenomenal start to the first part of the season. Since then, honestly, Jeremy Hebel's luck appears to have just about run out.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. Spencer Tart barely beat Daniel Holloway off pit road as that caution was a big break for Holloway. But what I've seen right here, Martin Wenzel and William Wingfield have both stayed out. Actually, Martin Wenzel's on pit road now.
Yeah, he might have tried to get that lap led there, Martin Wenzel. Not often, finding himself in an opportunity to lead a lap. So he does get that lap led, I believe, and also PJ O'Leary will try to get a wave around here, put himself maybe 10 laps down instead of 11, and Spencer Tart will again lead this field to the green for the first time in 2 cautions because he was stuck behind the 2 other cars before. Any damage that Spencer Tart might have received with that contact with Matt Kleinschmidt on that spin has not affected him at all. If anything, it's just motivated him to be just that much faster.
Yeah, motivating him to try to stay up front as often as he can. But we saw about the first 10 laps or so, Holloway was able to stay right with Spencer, even with just those 2 right side tires. Now that they're both on 4, it'll be interesting to see how Holloway handles them.
Absolutely. PJ O'Leary will take this wave around here. Spencer Tart lines up on the inside. Robbie Armstrong lines up on the inside. Jeffrey Meyer, I believe, will be right there on the outside, so a good bounce back for him.
Yeah, Martin Wenzel, after leading that lap, staying out, he still scored in the fifth position, so he didn't really lose anything.
And with just a little bit less than 50 laps to go, Spencer Tart, your leader, is about to take the green flag. Robbie Armstrong behind him on the inside, Holloway on the outside. And Holloway actually... Oh, Holloway spins!
Oh, man. Once again, that wheel spin. Although that time Holloway had 4 fresh tires. Kind of like we saw David Wright last night do with 4 fresh tires late in the race, starting second. But that just gives Tart a huge advantage over Robbie Armstrong and the rest of this field.
But that game, I mean, Robbie Armstrong did an incredible job of saving that after making contact. As we are,
that could have turned him head on into the wall and ended his race altogether.
Right, and we are watching a battle now for third between Holloway and Jeffrey Meyer as Holloway tries to get his bearings straight here. He will clear Jeffrey Meyer, and we're now looking back for Dakota Wilkins to clear Jeffrey Meyer here. Again, Jeffrey Meyer could be a little under power here, not sure. He is falling back just a little bit. Or he was on the previous run. He seems to be holding on strong now, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely getting the most out of this truck. I mean, when he hit Hebel flush into the right side, I really expected actually for Meyer's race to really be messed up altogether, but he is hanging tough on the outside.
And Meyer's another one. We're riding on board with him right now, and you can hear him downshifting. So news got around that that's the fast way to be here. And this 2x2 or this 2 wide battle here has Martin Wenzel kind of looking for a place to go.
Meyer just got knocked up out of the groove by Wilkins.
That looked to be a little bit of a net code there, but you are correct. Dakota Wilkins, Jeffrey Meyer kind of door a little bit. Martin Wenzel could have maybe got into him just a little bit as well. Racers will continue to race here as Jeffrey Meyer will fall back to possibly 7th place as Andrew Marsh is looking inside now. And that's a perfect example of why the outside is a place that you don't want to be here.
Yeah, because they'll just freight train you like you do at Daytona and Talladega. Dakota Wilkins making a move now for 3rd place on Holloway. Yeah, Holloway's got some pretty serious left front damage as they banged doors a little bit off the corner. He got that left front damage after that wheel spin issue when he got into Robbie Armstrong. I wonder if that's affecting the steering on this truck as Martin Wenzel hits the wall.
Well, I know one thing that certainly affected the handling of his vehicle was just the wheels spinning in general. again, talking about what heat does to your grip level here, which luckily for these drivers, the track again relatively cool tonight. I wouldn't even want to see what would happen if we were to have had a warm evening here with all the spinning that we've had. But oh, we do have a caution.
DJ O'Leary, I believe. Yep, off of turn 2 all by himself, kind of similar to his spin earlier.
It looked very, very similar. Almost same. It parks it almost in the same exact spot here. Looking at PJ O'Leary, dive down in and just.
The only difference is he was all by himself this time.
A little bit of curb. Now there's ways to hit the curb where it's not the worst. About right there, he didn't hit the curb. He kissed the curb, which kind of kicked his rear end out. And while you're accelerating, that's never what you want to do. Armstrong.
Tart stays out. Armstrong, Meyer, William, Winkfield so far the only drivers to pit.
I don't know, with 14 laps of tire wear, that's actually probably not a great strategy for Robbie Armstrong.
Well, I mean, they've seen what's happened to Holloway and what's happened to Kleinschmidt, so I mean, perhaps, I don't know if they're just a little bit gun shy.
Right. Well, why don't we bring in Spencer Tart here under this yellow flag, get an opportunity to talk to Spencer here. I'm curious to see what he has thought about this race so far. This has been an incredible race at Martinsville, of course. No shortage of action, as per usual.
All right, there we go. I'm bringing him in here.
Spencer Tart, do you have a copy, sir?
Yes, I do.
Well, a very eventful race so far, kind of more so than I really anticipated here. You just barely missing a spin by Kleinschmidt, watching other drivers spin the tires on these restarts. Is that something that we kind of knew about heading into this race, or is that just kind of a new thing today?
I definitely didn't think anybody would be spinning the tires, especially on fresh tires, but I think it's just because of where you start in the corner could definitely have a role. I don't think the bottom's going to spin very bad, but the top has definitely got a good chance of spinning, so you definitely got to be careful there.
Well, as we talked to you at the pre-race, I know you're having a race that you probably kind of wanted here, kind of staying out front most of it, putting pretty good distance between you and any person behind you. But now, do you have a game plan to try to set up these last part of the race here?
What do we have? 35 laps to go. We're gonna go out there and lead the last 35 laps.
10-4, buddy. Are you worried at all that Robbie Armstrong was taking 4 tires and you decided to stay out? Any worry there?
No, I think it's too hard to pass here, and I didn't think anybody would go in. I just didn't want to get stuck behind cars and maybe a wheel spin or something like that happen from another driver and take me out.
10-4, Spencer. Well, you've been able to avoid crisis so far. Go get him.
Thank you.
Well, one thing that we haven't really touched on tonight is like where they restart. Like right off of turn 4, there's a different coloring as far as the pavement is concerned.
Yeah, well, there's asphalt and concrete, so there is a little bit of changing here.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. Is Holloway's going to restart second. This time he has a better start, although Tart jumps out on him as well.
Yeah, one thing Holloway, I see, he's not doing a great job.
Yeah, Wilkins spinning, overcorrecting into Jeffrey Meyer. No caution yet. He's right in the middle of the racetrack, though.
And the caution is out. We will take a replay.
Jeffrey Meyer, he's got smoke out the back. I don't think he survived this one.
Look, watching this restart here of Dakota Wilkins as he dives down into turn 1 side by side with Daniel Holloway. Just a little bit too much brake. We're seeing these rear ends slide right out, and Jeffrey Meyer again, a victim of just wrong place, wrong time here. We will ride on board with Jeffrey Meyer here as we watch this replay one more time.
Yeah, earlier we saw him hit another FMS truck, but this time I believe that's going to put an end to his race, as he is smoking heavily going down pit road right now.
Yeah, that was a very hard hit. And actually, let's go on board with Andrew Marsh here. because he almost was the victim, but Dakota overcorrects and actually goes out into Jeremy Hebel, but it could have been, it very easily could have been Andrew Marsh.
Up several people. Yeah, if Wilkins had not overcorrected, he would have taken out Marsh there, because he would have had nowhere to go if Wilkins didn't swing back to the right.
Now, with some of these cars behind them taking advantage, that actually moves Robbie Armstrong back up into 5th, Martin Wenzel into 3rd now. Daniel Halloway, Spencer Tart remain the top 2 cars. One thing Daniel Halloway does have to do a better job of on these restarts is, I mean, he's car lengths behind Spencer Tart even before they enter turn 3 and 4. So, I mean, he's not getting next to Spencer Tart, which is only giving Tart more of an advantage.
Yeah, so, I have noticed that. I just gotta believe that what happened on the restart prior to this one, where he spun the tires and nearly wadded up everybody, that would have to be going through his mind. Although at this point, you got to kind of suck it up and keep trying.
Now we will, just a little bit more than 25 laps to go. The top 4 drivers have 23 or 22 laps of tire wear. Anyone from Robbie Armstrong back will have fresh tires, so we'll see if that plays a factor. If assuming this green flag runs out a little bit, actually allow some tire wear to get in, some heat to build up on these tires to see maybe if there's a longer run here to end this race, it could possibly get into a situation where someone like Robbie Armstrong has the advantage because, again, he does have those fresher tires. But with these 2 quick cautions here, Spencer Tart's tire temperature will be nice and cool. So, again, we'll watch Holloway, see if he decides to actually get up to the leader this time. And if not, all he's doing is giving Spencer Tart, seconds.
Well, let's see. Looks like he's alongside him further up this time. Tart's holding him down, but there he goes.
Martin Wenzel doesn't get the greatest restart, kind of holds up.
Andrew Marsh is going to take advantage and jump down into 3rd position.
Robbie Armstrong looking to get past Martin Wenzel sooner rather than later here, as Martin Wenzel does protect the bottom. We're right on board.
He's got to go. He can't be patient with these 4 fresh tires. He needs to exploit the advantage he has and do it in a hurry. As Wenzel packs it down into the corner right underneath Andrew Marsh. And here comes Andrew Marsh now under Holloway for 2nd.
Both drivers do a good job hanging on to it, and Andrew Marsh here kind of pinches him a little bit on exit.
Wow. Holloway's hanging tough.
Again, this is a battle for 2nd here. Also a battle for 4th behind him there between Robbie Armstrong, Martin Wenzel. And Wenzel does, again, protect that bottom. Ooh, a little bump there from Holloway.
Shot. That cost Holloway, though. He lost his momentum.
Yeah.
Wenzel, he
cut off Martin.
There they go. And the caution is out. Wenzel, corrects. Still spinning, and now it comes to a stop.
And William Wingfield deciding to give him extra damage? I'm not sure about that one.
Wenzel just ran into the side of him again.
Now we're going to watch this, and I called it out as soon as I saw it that it was going to be Holloway cutting off Wenzel here. Let's take another replay, and that's exactly what it was. Holloway did not give Wenzel the space that he had earned there by beating him off the exit of 3 and 4. And Wenzel does have an awful time there trying to gather it back up, and of course taking some extracurricular shots from William Wingfield and Cody Gatsky afterwards.
Yeah, that was a bit of a late move that Wenzel made on Holloway.
Yeah, we are going to I'm riding on board with Wenzel now to see kind of what he saw. He gets a huge run, and he starts peeking inside just after the start-finish line. And, I mean, Holloway, assuming that he, was using his rearview mirror, he should have seen that he had a huge run coming off that corner there. Not to, I don't want to place blame on any driver, but I feel like Holloway might have navigated that just a little bit wrong here. Looking back here to Martin Wenzel on this replay again. Wenzel does look inside. I'm going to... That's close. That's a close one.
Yeah, that's a tough one to call. I mean, that's just hard, aggressive short track racing with less than 25 laps to go.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, look who's running fourth right now. Cody Gatsky. He was, if I can recall correctly, he was a lap down.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. I remember him taking a wave around here.
Yeah, and he entered this race at the very bottom as the 9th and final driver, still playoff eligible. And he could possibly, if he could hang on here for another 20 laps, he could possibly steal some points here.
Right now, looking here at the point standings right now, Jeremy Hebel, our leader, is running 7th. Spencer Tartan 2nd, though he is our leader. Matthew Kleinschmidt, Eric Weatherholtz out of the race, 13th and 14th, but Holloway still looking to get a big jump. Robbie Armstrong now has the advantage. Sidarius Jackson and Jeffrey Meyer ended up not having a great Martinsville here, and they will not be able to take advantage. But again, Robbie Armstrong, Daniel Holloway, they could really put some distance on Kleinschmidt and Weatherholtz as we go into next week's race at Texas, which that's going to be the type of race where we see a little bit less green or a little bit less caution flags, a little bit more exciting racing though for sure as they reach speeds of 180 miles an hour easily there at Texas.
Yeah, anything can happen there, that's for sure, as we've seen earlier this season. But I'll tell you who's in a heck of a spot right here is Robbie Armstrong, restarting third on the inside with fresh tires. He could give Spencer a run for his money here.
And he does have those fresher tires, as you alluded to, so we'll see. Spencer gets a great run off.
Armstrong, he didn't get too bad of a start. He took advantage of Marsh not getting the best start, and he's in second place, trying to get to the bumper hard if he can.
Yeah, what a run by Robbie. We've seen him all over the all over the timesheet tonight. Near the back, near the front, back up in second for the first time in probably about 100 laps, it seems like. And, he's caught up in some early incidences as well. Got that damaged lap 1 and has been damaged ever since. But here we are looking at Spencer Tart out to a half a second lead already. We will look back to this battle here for second, third, fourth, and fifth. Martin Wenzel.
Cody Gatsky and Wenzel are going at it. And chances are we're going to have some hurt feelings and some hurt fenders.
Yeah, well, we've only seen really the one clean truck, and that is the truck of Spencer Tart. Certainly the cleanest, and by no coincidence, he is the leader. Andrew Marsh, not in too bad a shape. Holloway was still with that significant left side damage. Robbie Armstrong with that significant right side damage. These guys are starting to get spread out a little bit here as we are starting to tick down the laps. Spencer Tart with a 0.7 of a second lead.
Cody Gatsky didn't get off turn 4 that well that time. Martin Wenzel's going to look. And there he goes. Gatsky went up the hill.
Martin Wenzel chasing a top 5 here tonight. One of the few opportunities he's had, and he's even had bad luck tonight, and he's still able to power through. Oh, Marsh looking inside of Holloway.
Yeah, this would be Wenzel's first top 5 since Atlanta, the second race of the season, so definitely one of his better races of the season for sure.
And Martin Wenzel does have fresh tires now too, because he did decide to pit,
right.
and now he could easily maybe finish top 3 here as Holloway and Marsh are duking it out. Again, ahead of these guys is Robbie Armstrong and Spencer Tart with out to a 1.1 second lead already with 11 laps to go here.
Marsh, he's going to poke the nose. He keeps thinking better of it. I think he saw what happened between Wenzel and Holloway.
Oh, but he gets a huge run.
Really good run off the turn 4. Holloway's been holding the outside pretty well, but...
Oh, Marsh almost able to get a slide job there. Martin Wenzel trying to take advantage here.
We've seen this movie before. Some more room. And Holloway gets passed by Wenzel as Wenzel has those fresher tires.
Great.
10 laps to go.
Great, absolutely great run here by Martin Wenzel. But an even better run tonight for sure by Spencer Tart, and also equally impressive.
Hang on, Robbie Armstrong. Wow.
Caution.
Oh, we got a caution behind him.
Who was that? Who was that?
Back and see who.
It wasn't Jeremy Hebel again, was it? It was. All right, we're going to ride with Jeremy Hebel here. We do have a caution inside 10 to go. This is final restart. Well, potentially final restart.
He went in, almost got in the back of Cody Gatsky, turned the wheel hard right, and then lost it.
That is, I mean, how many times have we seen that tonight, Taylor? That is the story of the race, in my opinion. Is just the amount of times that these drivers have lost rear grip, entering, not exiting, entering, decelerating, which, in my opinion, is not something I would have ever imagined. But watching here now, Jeremy Hebel trying to salvage something here. The only good thing going for him tonight is he's still running, while some of these other drivers are multiple laps down. Or if you're Eric Weatherholtz, you just have not been able to continue. Looking at that beautiful car, Eric Weatherholtz sporting the pink font in celebration of breast cancer awareness last month, and finally able to get an opportunity to race since we had so many weeks off there.
Well, fortunately for Hebel, I mean, there are only 7 trucks that are still on the lead lap, so you could salvage some points that way. But
well, this is going to be an incredible finish here. I would not be doing my job if I didn't take the opportunity to remind everyone that this is DRL TV. If you do enjoy the type of racing that the Dynasty Racing League races, I mean, we run at least 3 races a week. Make sure that if you're watching this broadcast and you want to be updated on either your favorite driver or your favorite league, the Dynasty Racing League, make sure that you're subscribing there on YouTube. We broadcast again at least three races a week. Coming up, though, it's going to be pretty fun racing as we have the Winter Series coming up at the end of this at the end of this playoff season. A little bit of road racing, a little bit of oval racing. What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And as far as our viewers, if you want to be a part of this league, I mean, we're still taking people. For this Pro Series coming up and the next season, I mean, feel free to send us an invite.
Now, focusing back to this race here, this is going to be a 1 or 2 lap shootout. Robbie Armstrong at a disadvantage here starting on the outside. Andrew Marsh, Daniel Holloway will have the advantage on the inside. Anything could happen here, but one thing we do know is as soon as this goes green, the next flag will decide it, because any caution, there is no green-white checkered here in iRacing. As the lights are out, we will have 1 to go here, and this will be a 2-lap shootout, 3-lap shootout. 2-lap shootout. Math. Me and math, we don't get along all that well. Doesn't matter how small the numbers are, all right? What an incredible performance by those 2 front row drivers here, though. That's all I can say. Great driving by both of them as they get ready for the final restart of this race.
If it's time to settle it, Clark gets a good start, but Armstrong can, once he passes the start-finish line, can drop down. He stays right with him, gets into the side of him.
He's able to.
Martin Wenzel up the hill, and now Andrew Marsh takes advantage of Armstrong checking up. He's looking for 2nd position. Here comes Hebel back behind him with fresher tires, and Tart starting to pull away.
Martin Wenzel hits that wall. Huge cluster behind him. But Spencer Tart with the lead here, 2 laps to go. Looking behind him, we've got the battle for 2nd between Andrew Marsh and Robbie Armstrong as he looks to cross over, dive down in.
And Marsh gets that spot as the trucks are going crazy in the back. But here comes Spencer Tart. White flag is in the air, trying to put a mark on a dominating performance here at Martinsville.
Spencer Tart, assuming he keeps this clean here, will become our first repeat winner here in the Winona Road Truck Series playoffs. And will probably assume the lead from Jeremy Hebel here. He will get bonus points for leading the most laps. And Spencer Tart, ladies and gentlemen, will be your winner here. And looking back to
sorry, Getty. And most importantly, he punches his ticket to Homestead as he will be in the championship floor no matter what happens.
And Jeremy Hebel still able to salvage a 6th place spot. Daniel Holloway still able to get a top 5. Martin Wenzel, they're the big loser on that final restart. He slips.
Cody Gatsky. He managed to get a top 5 finish.
Yeah, incredible performance there as we were watching Spencer Tart do some celebratory burnouts. Only damage he really received there was right at the end with Robbie Armstrong, which was just incredible. Incredible restart there. I really thought Robbie had an opportunity to maybe, if he could stick to that outside, maybe give him some trouble. He ended up doing the right thing there, checking up, and actually had a decent battle there with Andrew Marsh, who ends up finishing second. Incredible racing there, incredible racing. Why don't we move to Cody Gatsky here and give him an interview as he celebrates his top 5 finish.
All right, see where he is in Discord here. He's in Do Not Disturb right now. Well, let's see if I can...
Well, let's go ahead and disturb him.
Let's see if we can reach him. Hey, Cody Gatsky, it's the broadcast booth. You got a copy, sir?
Cody Gatsky, you got a copy, sir, buddy? Well, just so you know, we'll try again later, and we'll try to get Cody Gatsky in. It's not too often that we get to talk with Cody Gatsky here. We'll totally bring in Daniel Holloway here. Yes.
Let's see. Usually, there he is. He's in spotter 1. Hey, Daniel Holloway, it's the broadcast booth. You got a copy, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, Daniel Holloway, you had a very eventful race up and down the timesheet as well. You were one of several drivers there that had several things to deal with this race. Kind of tell us about your race overall and the fact that you finished 4th.
Well, beginning of the race, starting back there, and there was just nowhere to go as far as I was just stuck in 10th, and that first caution came out. Made a decision to do 2 tires, and it worked for me. Got me some track position and stayed with the guys for a while. And then after a long run, I started feeling the 2 tires. And then that one big wreck with Matt, feel bad for him. And luckily I was in front of as far as that, but crazy ending as far as that. I lost it coming on that one restart where I spun the tires and hit Robbie, and I got on the radio and apologized to him right away, and I hate that because that was good crucial 5 points right there for a clean truck, but you know, good points night again.
Yeah, you did run into a little situation there with Martin Wenzel. Was that something trying to be aggressive to block the bottom, or is kind of, could you tell us there what happened?
No, I was just talking to him, see what he's. I think he said that he actually thought he was more further in there, and he was just watching the replay. And I think both of us in the same spot there, and no harm, no foul. It was just racing. Luckily, I saved it, and I think he looped it coming out. I'm not sure what happened there. And then when he came back with me after that restart, you know, I let him go because I knew he was a little bit faster. That damage I had, I feel like I lost a little bit of the front stretch or back stretch speed a little bit, and then that last restart, starting 5th, I thought maybe I would get 3rd again from that last restart I did.
Well, again, is there? I mean, if there's ever a race talking about perseverance, this might be the one for you. This could be a season-defining race for you, Daniel Holloway. He tied with several people there in the point standings, able to come out on top there. Robbie Armstrong finishes one position ahead, but of course you can make that up in the next 2 races. Is there any shout-outs that you want to give here, Dan?
Yeah, I just want to shout out to James for putting this league, you guys on the broadcast, DRL, Kevin, not Kevin, sorry, Jeff and Matt. Just want to say thanks for having me in their team speak. I know they had a rough night, and good points gaining on them though. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And whoever was watching out there, just want to say hello, Amanda and everybody.
Awesome, Dan. Well, hey, you know what? We'll see you next week at Texas, sir.
Looking forward. Looks like it's going to be a long one there.
No, actually, I will clarify the scheduled race, which was supposed to be 233 laps, has been cut down to 117. So it'll be a normal one. It won't be an all-nighter.
Well, either way, if it was an endurance race and that, I was gonna go hard and try to get another good top 5 again.
Awesome, sir. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right, let's move on to our
Let's
third
actually
place Robbie Armstrong.
Let's bring Cody Gatsky, and now I am under the impression that he has fixed his mic here, so let's get a conversation here with Mr. Gatsky.
All right, okay, I see him ready now. He's in the waiting room. Hey, Cody Gatsky, it's the broadcast booth. You got a copy, sir?
I do.
You were a lap down early in the race, but you got your lap back and stayed out of trouble through all the craziness and managed to top 5. That's really got to feel good.
Oh, it does. It feels, I've been trying all season to, keep getting better. And I guess what I needed to do is not be in the playoffs to do good.
Well, I mean, whatever tactic you used, I mean, it sure seems to have worked for you tonight. How do you feel about next week at Texas?
I'm gonna do like I did today. I'm just gonna go in there and try to do my best, and we'll see what happens.
Well, Cody, it's not often that we get an opportunity to speak with you post-race, especially. Is there anyone that you want to give a shout-out to?
Yeah, Band of Brothers Dirt League, you guys at the Winona Road Truck Series, and I think that's it.
That's good enough, man. Good enough. Well, hopefully you keep building on the stuff and, maybe bring a little bit of momentum into next season, and you don't have to worry about being a non-playoff driver anymore, huh?
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, man, it's always great to speak to you, and congratulations on your top 5 at a track that's certainly not easy by any means. So, great job staying out of the muck, and congratulations on your top 5, buddy.
Thank you.
We'll put him down there. Bring down Mr. Robbie Armstrong here. He's actually in race chat there still. Talk to Mr. Armstrong and see how his race went. Robbie, you got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, you had a great showing here tonight. Pretty eventful for you also. Kind of give us a quick rundown of your race, if you would.
Well, at the beginning, I got into the wall on the outside, so that kind of started. It was definitely exciting. I was pretty fortunate that I decided to go ahead and pit and fix the damage, because on the next restart is when Matt spun his tires. I would have been right in the middle of that.
That's right.
Had 2 wrecks, just drove right in between them. I don't know how I made it through. So, yeah, but it was definitely exciting. Now, that's why I love Martinsville.
Yeah, it sure was. You had a real legitimate shot with that last restart with 3 to go. Gotten on the outside of Spencer Tart, but just couldn't make it happen. If you could replay that restart in your mind, what could you have done differently?
Well, I timed it perfect, and I got a run. And once we got past the start-finish line, I had room to get behind them, so I was gonna bump and try to move them a little bit, and because it got me at Martinsville last time. But when I got to them, actually, I drove through them, and I was afraid it was going to hook them and turn them into the wall, so I turned out of it, and was hoping to still get second. But he was definitely the class of the field tonight, and I didn't want to wreck him.
Right. No, but one thing you can hang your hat on is, that 3-way battle that you have in the point standings right below the cutoff. It's certainly possible that once we get updated points, you could be one of the 4 drivers that are above the cutoff line as we head to Texas Motor Speedway next week. So, congratulations on a great run. Absolutely, being able to stay clear of some of the stuff, but more importantly, man, a huge points day for you as the season starts to wind down, Robbie.
Yeah, I wish there was a couple more Martinsville or maybe a restrictor plate left, but that's all right. We'll see what happens.
Well, you got Phoenix in 2 weeks. That's kind of a similar flat track.
Yeah, I don't really have the hang of that one yet for some reason. That's one of the few flat ones I can't get a hold of.
Well, Robbie, why don't you give any shout-outs that you want to here real quick, and then go enjoy your top 5, buddy.
No problem. Dynasty Racing League, as always, put on this great show. Y'all guys for broadcasting. Always go back and listen to them later on. They're pretty cool. Y'all do a great job. James doing race control tonight. Pretty good. We had a good time. And thanks, Hardee's. go get you a nice big old bucket of fried chicken and enjoy.
Right. Yeah, a huge shout out to James for filling in for race control, actually for me, and hopefully if David Wellborn is watching, we can get that master broadcaster back in our roster here pretty quick. He's a little under the weather. So, again, Robbie, appreciate you setting aside some time to talk with us, and we'll see you at Texas next week, buddy.
Yep, see y'all next week. Have a good night. Check us out Sunday, Pro Series. It's going to be awesome.
Yep, sure will. I'll see you then.
Y'all have a good night.
Yep, and as I see, Mr. David Wellborn is in our chat on the YouTube stream. Good to see him.
Yeah, we definitely miss him. Miss his style.
Yep, hopefully he's feeling a lot better. And we can have him next week. Let's bring in Andrew Marsh, our runner-up finisher. Yeah, Andrew Marsh is the Taylor and Getty in the booth. You got a copy, sir?
Yes, I do. Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, we got you loud and clear, bud. Typical Martinsville short track beating and banging, but you come away with a runner-up finish. How'd it go from your perspective?
It was pretty crazy. Between getting caught up with my teammate earlier in the race, and then I gave myself a speeding penalty. So I put myself in the back a couple times and just slowly kept on creeping back up toward the front. And luckily it paid off. I felt I got a good lap in practice, but qualifying I was off a little bit, so I wasn't really sure what to expect, but it definitely was exciting out there.
Yeah, Taylor made a note of the practice speed that you had, and of course, not everyone qualifies where they need to. But man, what a race you had! You kind of hanging back a little bit there at the beginning, but able to kind of maneuver through most of the short track mess and able to come up with a top 2 finish. That's excellent, man.
Yeah, it's definitely needed. I think that's only my second top 5 this year, and the other one was at Daytona where I finished second.
Yeah, well, I know I spoke with Cody Gatsky earlier just a few minutes ago, and one thing I told him is, even though you're out of the playoffs, hopefully you can start building some momentum heading into next season if you decide to run the Truck Series for points. You're obviously a top-notch driver here, excellent I rating, you got your A license, so hopefully we see you next season, and hopefully we're able to talk to you again here at Texas or one of the remaining tracks here as a top 5 finisher, man.
Yeah, thank you. Pretty much I've been getting a lot of help from other people and just slowly chipping away, trying to get better every week, so it's definitely paying.
Yeah, iRacing is a huge community, man. We're all here for one another, except for on race day. So if there's any shout-outs you want to give here, Andrew Marsh, do so now.
I would like to thank Dakota Wilkins and Jeremy Hebo, my teammates, and my dad for letting me pretty much help me do this. And yeah, the sponsors for putting this together and you guys broadcasting.
Awesome, Andrew. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to some of the guys that we don't often get to talk to. Hopefully, though, we're able to talk to you again next week after Texas.
Yeah, thank you. Looking to build some momentum for sure.
Absolutely. As we are patiently waiting to speak to our race winner, Spencer Tart, who we spoke to a couple times already in this race, but Spencer Tart here just had one of those performances that we've seen from him a couple times this season, and here he is.
Hey, Spencer Tart, it's Taylor and Getty once again. You got us?
Spencer Tart, you got a copy, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, you punched your ticket to Homestead with this dominant performance tonight. Other than that one close call you had when Matt Kleinschmidt spun those tires on that restart, you sure put on a heck of a performance tonight.
Spencer, were you able to hear Taylor just now?
No, I couldn't hear him.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I'll reiterate what he said if you can't hear him. He said, you're not really that good and you should probably try something else.
Yeah, I kind of figured that after the performance tonight. I didn't think we ran very fast. I definitely should have been a little bit better.
No, that was an incredible performance. You got a little bit of heat there at the end from Robbie. We talked earlier in the race with you. There's a moment where you kind of had to fight traffic a little bit. Restarting in third, some lap traffic, of course. But man, what a performance! And as Taylor mentioned just now, you punch your ticket for an opportunity to race for a championship at Homestead, regardless of what happens at Texas and ISM. So, how does that make you feel, man? You have now set yourself up for the opportunity to be a DRL champion.
Oh man, I'm super excited. Having a shot to go there, not having to worry really about the next 2 weeks, and being able to focus on Homestead and getting a shot to win this thing is definitely awesome. Just absolutely ecstatic right now.
Taylor, do you have anything here for Spencer, since you didn't get your first comment across there?
No, it's okay. Well, next week and 2 weeks from now at Phoenix, you're not gonna have any pressure on you, so I'm sure you're still gonna go for the wins though, because of course Eric Weatherholtz and Matt Kleinschmidt didn't have a very good night tonight, and I'm sure you're gonna try to prevent them from punching their ticket as well.
Well, Eric Weatherholtz is my teammate, so I definitely want him to get in. But anybody else, I don't really want anybody else to get in. If I could just get 2 in there, it would be even better. But yeah, next week and the week after that, we're still going to go out there and look for a win and hopefully shake up some playoff points and have a good. Since nothing matters going into Homestead, it's not too big of a deal. So hopefully it's just a lot of practice for Homestead from now on.
Well, Spencer, I will say this. You are the first person in many weeks to actually dethrone Jeremy Hebel as the points standings champion right now. So you are leading the points for I think the first time this season. So congratulations on that. Congratulations on an excellent Martinsville performance. And we look forward to seeing you next week at Texas, buddy.
Thank you.
Yep, I do forget every now and then that those Eric and Spencer are teammates. But let's take a look at this final results.
Yeah, looking here at the unofficial results of the 175 laps that were run here, Spencer Tart leading 161 of them. Andrew Marsh finishing second, as you can see here. Great performances all up until about 9th place. William Wingfield, who we didn't talk about too much, was still able to get a nice top 10, being only 1 lap down. But Jeffrey Meyer didn't have the race that he wanted. And as we look at these last drivers here, Cy, Dakota, Eric, and Matt, of the 14 drivers that were running, absolutely disappointing for most of them, especially Cy Jackson, who is below the cutoff line. Dakota Wilkins has already been removed from playoff contention, but disappointing for him. But we do have 2 races left before we have to even worry about Homestead and all that stuff. So we'll grind out Texas, grind out ISM, and I'm sure that's what he'll be focused on here. Looking at, again, reminding the people of the point standings before the race. This has been Martinsville, but next week we get to go to Texas for 175 miles of beautiful Star State racing here, as I do anticipate David Wellborn returning from his sickness here. If you get a cold as a broadcaster, that's basically a death sentence. Taylor Butcher Benjamin should be joining us as always, and that'll be next week, of course, Wednesday, November 14th. So if if you're a fan of tonight's racing and you have not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and then you'll be alerted anytime we go live with racing, which again, as I mentioned earlier, is 3+ times a week. The next broadcast that will be on DRL TV, however, will be race number 2 of our Pro Series there at Southern National in North Carolina, and that will be again this Sunday. 0.4 of a mile, 185 laps there at the Pro Series. Race winner Garrett Maines will look to maybe continue his dominance. Wade Hustad finishing second in that race, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but either
they actually hit the wall late in that race and finished, I believe, 6th. But yeah, those two, they should put on a good show for the next week and, quite frankly, through the whole entire Winter Series.
No, absolutely. Now, looking at this is the list of names that it takes to run a series or to run a league such as DRL. Again, if you are interested in joining as a driver, we are always taking drivers here. The classier, the better. And again, this is the list tonight. Again, a huge special shout out to David Wellborn, who not only broadcasts today, normally he also broadcasts on Monday, and he has been a very pivotal person when it comes to the DRL TV having success this season. So, Taylor, do you have any closing notes there, sir?
Well, I think although we only had 14 drivers tonight, Martinsville put on quite a show like they always do, and I expect Texas next week to do the same.
No, absolutely. And just to remind you, this has been DRL TV. My name is Getty Buckner. This is Taylor Butcher Benjamin alongside me here. Spencer Tart, absolutely dominating here at Martinsville. You know what? We will see you guys next week for the Texas race. Hopefully you stay tuned.